Hello, YouTube friends. It's nice to have you visit today. We had some wonderful blustery weather recently, and I got some great footage of the clouds around our house moving across the sky. Well, today's video is all about my very first tapestry weave. It's rather long, so you might want to watch it in two segments, and that's fine. My very first attempt at the beginning, though, is an utter failure, and I want to warn you ahead of time. I don't spend much time on that because it was a botched attempt, but then it turns out better later. Here's my Lenten roses just in time for Lent. They're also called hellebores. However, my Christmas cactus is also blooming and it's not at the right time. These are the ladies from my prayer shawl group. Such wonderful dear people. They make delightful shawls and lap robes and even little bunnies. Okay, let's get started. Okay, friends. Now, as promised, I am trying to use my rigid heddle loom to do a tapestry weave, and I am experimenting on my own. Okay, what I've done is I've taken some stiff paper and put it around my apron bar down here and also on the top with intervals here. And I guess the only interesting thing I'm doing here is the way I am. Those of you who weave, you'll recognize kind of the idea here. Of how this yarn is, as I'm pulling it from there, but this is almost like having a warping peg on both ends. So this one's pretty, see that's pretty loose. Some of these are rather tight, but that's rather loose in the middle. So I need to work on this some, but I'll come back if this works. It's another peaceful day in my studio. There's Leo in his favorite spot. He's watching me work. At my feet is sweet little Tricky. She is the dog with the sweetest temperament I have ever known. Bless her heart. She's just as wonderful as can be. All right. This is my second attempt because, as you saw, the previous attempt was a disaster. So this is my second attempt to get a warp going for tapestry weaving. Now, first of all, what I'm using this time, I am trying to reuse something. If there ever was a reuse, this is it. I have a throw on my couch, and this was the thread yarn that they used to stitch the border around the edge, and I've had it for probably 10 years or more, and finally it unraveled and just came off. And last time this happened, I just unraveled the whole thing on another throw and threw it out. But this time I unraveled it, and I thought, that's actually probably really durable. I did the snap test on it. It's very strong. It's some kind of a synthetic or nylon. But why throw that out? Why not ball it up and use it as a warp? So that's what I'm doing. Now, this time, I tied the knot here and ran down. And then I did 4 more loops with just a little slip knot at the top, not a full knot. And then I ran it up here, left the gap there. I thought that'll probably work because this here is holding that gap open, okay? And then I tied another knot and then 4 additional slip knots, and then I ran the thread. This is all one long thread. So I'm basically doing up and down, up and down, up and down, okay? Not running it through a heddle. I'm not going to have sheds. I'm going to weave this with a tapestry needle. It's not going to be very wide, and it's just the height from this apron bar to this apron bar. Now you'll notice there's not much tension, but the lovely thing about doing this on a rigid heddle loom is that I can crank my back roller back and I can produce the tension that I want on this. And when I put tension on it, I'll be able to make these things stay separate. That was the problem with the other one, is that I really couldn't keep the warp threads separate. They were going to tend to go together, which is why I was using that paper thing that did not work. It wasn't strong enough. I saw something like this, I think, on a video, and as soon as I saw it, maybe it was a photo, I thought, that might work. And I think it might. Now you see here that this is not as far apart as this is. It's not quite even, but I think if I start with some really strong beginning wefts down here to establish it, the weaving, I think it'll be fine. We'll see how it goes. I may do something about double that width and then stop. Yeah. Okay. I'll bring you back if this works. I'm rather excited because I've been rewatching some of the instructional videos about how to do the kind of tapestry weaving I want to do. And it looked like her warps looked pretty similar to mine. And I am going to be putting this cardstock in the bottom. This is just a piece of stray paper I had. It's the front of a watercolor pad of paper. And I'm going to be using, for my fringe, I'm going to try to do as much as I can what she did, so that I don't just launch out on my own. This is some kind of bulky. You see it's part acrylic and part wool. And it seemed to be somewhat similar to what she was doing. And I'm going to put about 6 rows in the bottom here, and then I'm going to put my fringe on top of it. We'll see how that looks. So I got so enthusiastic, and I figured I'd better stop and show you what I'm doing before I get too far along. I have a little helper this morning. Hello, Leo. He knows his name. What does he have in his mouth? Oh, no, he's yawning. Okay. So I don't even remember where I was last time. I did these rye loops. I started with, I thought I'd have a dark color toward the bottom. And these, oh dear, she had a name for these. When I find out the name for what this stitch is, I will put it here. You really can't see what kind of stitch it is because of it's such a textured yarn. It's got all this hairy stuff. And then I just did a portion of it. I didn't take it all the way across and keep it level because I love the flowy look, the creative flowy look of these portions that are not shaped in little rectangles. And then I used, hang on, let me grab it. Here is this yarn that, if I can find the video where I made this stuff, I spun this stuff, I'll do it. It was a pain in the neck. Oh my goodness. And I couldn't find anything good to do with it. And I tried to make a shawl or something with it, or a scarf, and it was so ugly. It was the ugliest thing I'd ever woven. So it's been sitting around, but I combined it with this really hairy, this stuff. People buy it and think they're going to make a scarf out of it, and then it's just so hairy, it's just awful. But the two together, this kind of tapestry weaving is great for using up these strange yarns. So I combined the two over here and had 2 yarns running together. And I mounted it up on this side. And then I am using these videos to help me, and I'll post them on iCards up here, and I'll have them in the bottom. But she had a gray velvet ribbon that she used. And only one I had was just this, it's more of a silky, I don't know what it's made out of. It's ancient. I think it came with my sewing machine. It's just very old. But I did it the same way she did, which you can watch the video and learn how to do that. And I love that effect. It's just gorgeous. I'll probably have another one up here going the other way. Then I took the same yarn that I had down here and did some very small rya loops up here. I love that little tuft. It looks like a little sheep or something. I do want to repeat some of these yarns, so I've used this one twice now, and I'll probably maybe have it along the top. I've used this, this almost looks like Mardi Gras confetti. I've used it twice now too. I'll use the pink again. But I felt like I needed some blue. I'd probably need another pop of something dark up here, and I may use some roving actually pretty soon. What I like about this latest yarn that I'm using, and let me see, here it is. I've used this for something before. Oh, I made some baby booties out of this a couple of years ago. Sensations Oceana, a variegated yarn with twisted accents. So it has loops already. And so this is a great way to get some little bitty loops and some real texture into your tapestry without having to actually make the loops. It's just use a yarn with loops. And I've got all kinds of crazy yarns. Let me show you another one I really want to use. Here's another one that has some of the same colors I'm looking for. Isn't that fun? This is another Sensations. I don't know where these came from. I like that one a lot. It's kind of a lot of these, I have a lot of kind of ribbon yarns. That's what this one is. I have a whole bag of metallic-y kind of fun, interesting yarns, and I just want to keep on making tapestries like this. They're going to be hanging tapestries. I'll finish the bottom, and I'll put some kind of a sticker dowel across the top. Got to figure that out. The rigid heddle loom has worked great once I got it set up and tensioned. It does make my apron rod bow a little bit, but I don't think it's probably not any more than it does sometimes when I weave. Actually, I don't think the tension is as tight on this as it is when I weave a regular weave. So, I am really enjoying this. It's quick, it's creative, it's fun. You can just invent it as you go along. And it's a rainy, nasty day outside. Leo's watching the nasty rain outside. Yeah, look kind of grim. That's his favorite spot. All right, I'm going to continue with this, and I'll bring you back when I'm further along. I'm really liking how this yarn is looking. This is the yarn I'm using right now. It's light and fluffy as a cotton ball, and it's also quite thin, so I've doubled it over for this purpose. So this is the same type of stitch or knot that I use down here that I don't know the name of yet, but I'll find it out in a minute. And it's very interesting how you construct it. You start with just a loop that you put through, and again, the iCard will be up there for you to look at somebody who's better at this than I am. But as you go along, you lift up the next string, you kind of make a little loop with this top, and you just stick it in there. It's not even really a knot. You pull it all through. It gives the look of a braid. This is kind of like if you had long hair and you had it in the back and you kind of put it into two pieces and flipped it over itself. It has that look. So I'm filling in this middle section, and then I'm going to eventually take this hopefully all the way across. And I want to keep on mounding up over here, okay? And then I'll be able to fill in with something really fun here. Maybe some blue roving, maybe some more of this, this pink. It's just so much fun. What I love is that as I go along, I'm making it. There's just a very highly creative, not intuitive, but just you're making it on the fly, whatever that word is. And that's what I don't like about patterned weaving, like the tartan shawl that I made, is once you get the first pattern down, that's what you do for the next week or two. And I don't find that very creative once I figure out the initial pattern. So there is no pattern to this. This is just as inventive as can be. It's my very favorite kind of thing to do. Okay, well, you've watched me do enough of that, and you can watch somebody else do it better, but I'll bring you back later and let you see how I'm going to have this come up like this, and then probably fill in with maybe some bright blue roving. We'll see if that's too dominating, but if I have more of this and maybe a little touch of some dark brown, maybe not this dark brown, but some dark brown up there, that'll work. I really, really like these little raya knots over here. These are great. Okay, so that's what we're doing so far. I did go back and check, and this is called a sumac stitch. And the video that I'm watching, that I'll also put in the description below as well. She shows she actually doubles twice, so she has 4 strands that she's working with and I just have 2 that are doubled. She has 4 that are doubled. And you can just turn around and go in the opposite direction at any point. Down here, I went in one direction and back a couple times before I went to the end. You just always have to make sure that you make your loop above and pull these through from below. And that gives you the body of that. It's not a, I guess it's just a simple knotted braided knot. Boy, I'm just loving this. I'm probably going to run out of this before I get to the other side. I may have to start some more. That's the thing, is you can have all these ends and you just tuck them in with needles afterward. I'll be tucking that around, and I'll probably cut this off and use it again so it'll look more like that. I thought perhaps I should show you how to make a turn on the end, because you kind of have to readjust your brain for going the opposite direction. I don't have a lot left here, but just remember, you want to take, and I would take the longer of the 2, I think, and you make this loop, and then you put these 2 underneath the string and pull them through the loop, and then tighten, and this will get you going in the opposite direction, which is the way you want to go. Now you want to keep them split. I've got a total of, I've got a double length, but I have 2 strands on this side and 2 on this side. I don't know if any of you will be interested in actually doing tapestry weaving. Of course, you can't have 17 of these things hanging around your house. Well, I guess you could. I may end up doing one that I love so much I can't give away. I have a few watercolors I feel that way about, and the occasional scarf that I keep, but mostly I make things to sell at the farmer's market, which allows me to keep on creating. If I sell things, I get them out of my house, and then I can keep on making new ones. So that's really the whole point for me of going to the farmer's market, is if I didn't do that, honestly, at some point I'd have to stop making stuff. Okay, boy, I also like, I don't know if I'll do it this time, but I love the drape of that. Wouldn't it be fun to have one that had some things hanging down like that? Ooh. I'm really tempted. And I could have a couple more up there. I just don't want it to obscure the stuff below. I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it like that for now. That's kind of a good location for it. Or maybe here. Oh, I'm thinking out loud. I'm sorry. I finished that strand, and I did leave a few here. If I don't like it, I can always just put it toward the back and weave it in and not have it. I like that. I think that's kind of cool looking. I don't know. But I'm starting another small section here. As you can see, it's not real big. I've doubled over, and I thought I'd show you how I start it. You just keep your loop over here and tuck all those strands underneath. See, that's what it looks like. And then you just pull it tight. And you really do have to remember to always beat down. If you just do it with your hands, your fingers, that's fine. If you want to take your beating tool and do it every time, that's fine. Now, the lady whose videos I'm going to link to, it's spruce and linen, or linen and spruce, I forget. I think her wooden weaving, tapestry weaving materials are made out of spruce wood, and then the warp that she sells is, I think, linen. Maybe that's why she calls it that. I'm not sure. Anyway, she has pairs, and you can kind of still see my pairs as they come down, and she often will weave under and over 2 at a time. This is a small weaving, really small. Matter of fact, this is a 6-inch shuttle. It's just about 6 inches wide, and I don't want, if you do 2 under and 2 over, it's because you have really bulky yarns you're working with, and I don't want anything that bulky because I don't want to overwhelm the delicate nature of this tapestry. This is the first ever tapestry weaving I've done. I did weave a scarf once that I need to pull out from wherever it is. Oops, I almost made a mistake. um, and show you. It was woven on my rigid heddle loom like a normal scarf, but I did put a whole lot of, I kind of did a picture landscape. It was pretty creative too. I don't think I never did quite finish it. I need to yank it out of wherever I put it. Okay, so I'm going to come down to about here, and then I'm going to go reverse and go back up and come back and go a little bit shorter and go up until I have a nice big hill here. And that'll give me a space to fill in here with an alternate color. I think if I do use that blue, it would be nice because it'll tie in with this blue, which I'm really liking all of this. The only yarn that doesn't seem to fit to me are these Rya loops at the bottom. They're I don't know, they just look like regular yarn. Everything else looks unusual. I like them here, but I'm not sure what I think about them down here. I could cut them all and just have them be straight fringe instead of loops, but I'm going to wait until I take it off of the loom before I make any choices like that. Okay, I've got my nice little purple hill over here, and I also did just about 3 rows with this interesting silver ribbon that I've never used before. It's very slippery, and and I did double it over. But let me see if can I lean you in a little bit so you can see that. See that silver? I just wanted some definition above to outline that slope. Anyway, and thankfully I was able to end it right where it started, and I left some tails and was able to kind of tie it off at the back. But it's so slippery it could come out. I'm going to need to think about how to secure that on the back. The next thing I want to use is this beautiful bright blue roving, and I kind of want to fill in this area here with it. I'm going to use the sumac stitch. Now this is about 1/3 of a roving width, and I think I'm going to split it again. I just don't want something that's so huge and bulky that it dominates, and I'm a little concerned about that. Plus, I really don't want to waste my roving either by making it bigger than I want. So I want to pause you and watch her video one more time. Okay, let's give this a little try, but I have to go from the opposite side that she went. So I better watch that again. I'm still confused. Okay, I had to really look at what she was doing to see how to get this attached correctly. Okay, I've got my long end over here and my short end coming in underneath this warp. I'm going to lay it over that way and lay it along over this way, just so they cross. Okay, and then we're going to do, then she skips one warp and then just pulls it under like that. So that you're going to get kind of this lovely, if you don't skip one, it's going to be too bulky. Okay. So I do think that this roving will last a while. That's good. This right here is what can make tapestry weaving so expensive if you use things like roving or really some really kind of pricey but beautiful yarns or ribbons. Roving is expensive, and this roving would make lots and lots of actual yarn if I were spinning it, and so using it up this way is kind of a great luxury. But I do love the look, and I really wanted to give it a try. Now this silver is trying to slip up, so I'm really going to have to keep an eye on that. And then here in a second, I'm going to turn around and go the other way. I'm going to have to stop and look at how she does that. This will be my last one. This way. Okay, let me watch her video again. Okay, that wasn't helpful because she put it on fast forwards. I have no idea. But I'm going to go here. Let me go around and try to go back the other way. So I'm going to skip that one and do this one and come over the top. that right? Boy, I don't know. I'm sure she says she has tutorials on how to do this. She's also calling this a sumac stitch, but she called this other a sumac stitch here, I think. I think this looks fine, but you just really have to push it down because it's quite bulky, even with just this small portion. This is a 1/6 of a width of roving. I don't think mine looks as tidy as hers, but then this is my first try, so yeah, that's not bad though. As long as it is tidy, consistent, and beaten down, that's really the most important thing. I think it must be important also to get it around to the end. Now I'm going to go back the other way. Okay, I won't make you watch all this. All right, so I did the blue. That's a lot of blue. It went really far. I think I should have left that tail shorter, but that's okay. And I went back and forth, went all the way up, filled in here, and stopped right here with a little tail in the back. Now this has tended to dominate that silver, which I really want that line of silver to show. So I'm going to try to keep shoving this blue up a bit. Both the blue and that purple are pretty bulky, and they'll dominate that line of silver if I'm not careful. Okay, I'm liking it. Okay, I think it's time for some of this pink ribbon up here, but I need something to introduce it. Probably some more of this hairy stuff here. I think that might be good. I'm getting really close to being done too. Okay. I changed my mind. Instead of the hairy stuff, I'm going to use that ribbon I was showing you. So, and I think it's really time for me to do some plain weave in here to kind of nail things down. Every now and then you have to do some plain weave to really keep your warp tidy. And honestly, that silver in there, I wouldn't count that because it's so slippery. I don't want to squash this down too much because this ribbon, I want it to kind of lay flat so that you really see it. I like it because it has, so I'm going to have to kind of twist it a bit. Make sure that they, well, untwist it. Make sure they don't get twisted in there. I like it because the silver in here will pick up the silver here. It also has some blue for here, but it has lots of pink, which will tie into the pink ribbon I'm going to do at the top. And I've got to get to that soon before I run out of space. I like using the needle for tapestry weaving. It's very fun. I think I prefer just using my hands like I did with the sumac stitch and the knots and stuff. I really like things with yarn that's very tactile. I don't know why, but we don't really have to know why we like some things. We just do. Isn't that going to look nice? I think so. And I've had lots of bulky stuff, so I think it's time for something that's kind of flat, but also has texture. It's a real good choice. Okay, now it's time for the ribbon. It's a little finicky. You just, well, not really, but you thread it through. I guess I can just use this one. Take this off. You thread it through and then you poof it up. The more you poof it up, the better it looks. So it's very fun to do, but it's also slippery, so it won't stay in place, and that's why you have to do some plain weave on top of it to really hold. Oh, I wonder if I should use this as the plain weave above it. I'll have to look at it and see what I think. I can look at something and imagine what it will look like after I do it, and that's That's kind of a helpful thing. Okay, boy, there's some blue on those, some blue roving on those warp strings. Let's shove those to the top. Okay, so we're going to squash it down, which already makes it look a little bit better. And then you have to poof it. Well, let's start in the middle. You have to poof it enough that you don't see those warp strings on either side. So it takes quite a good bit of poof. And this tends to want to fold over. Actually, it's already done it in there, which I don't really want it to do that. Oh, just barely ended up with enough. And you really have to go back and make sure that all of them have some poof. Oh, so fun. So fun. I think that may have to be it. Okay, now, boy, that is so busy. So busy. I wonder what I should have at the top. I don't think it should be that. I'm thinking, don't know that I want more of that. Maybe some of this would be nice. Didn't really think I was going to use it again. Maybe just by itself up there. Yes, I think that's good. Okay, we're going to give that a shot, and I'll show you when I'm done. Okay, tilt it up just a hair. I finished the ribbon. It's a little more squashed down than the other one, but I like that. And you can still see that pretty ribbon underneath. I like this pink. I think that now that I've settled it in, see how squashed it got? That's nice. That I'm going to add something else. A little bit, I may just add some of this again to it to finish up on the top. I think I'm done with the weaving portion of this project. It looks pretty hairy, doesn't it? I'm definitely going to get rid of this. And of course, we'll be tucking in all of these edges. That'll help some. I still need to figure out what I think about those rye loops down there. But overall, I am really pleased. Let's just do a recap. Rye loops. I think that's a sumac stitch. This is plain weave. That's ribbon. Small rye loops. And then I guess that's more, I think that's some plain weave, as is this. I think I like this and this best. I love the sumac with the roving, more ribbon, and then plain weave at the top to really nail it down. I think I'm going to show you the back so you can see what it looks like. Look at that. What a mass of chaos. I'll note here that I really wish I had a narrower loom. This is a 32-inch Ashford, and you can see how much empty space I have on either side. I can't imagine ever doing something that wide. I like this size, or maybe a little bit bigger, and it would be so nice to have a loom that was really just from here to here. And of course, a tapestry loom would be like that. Cutting it off the bottom and tying it off underneath these rye loops will be easy because the ties won't show. I'll take this card out and tie knots at the bottom with this twine. Figuring out what I want to do on the top is a different matter, and I hate to cut it off until I know exactly what I'm going to do, because I would hate to lose my weaving. Now, this is a good time to remind everybody who does any type of weaving that the tension that you have on your warp is here to give you a structure to weave on, okay, give you something nice and solid to weave on. But as soon as I cut these on either end, that tension really disappears. Some of it will still be maintained in the body of the weaving, but it's really only critical to the... Did you see that tail go by? It's really only critical to the time of the project, and then afterward, it's just a kind of a base. All right, I'm so excited about that. That was really fun. It's crazy looking. I think in the future I won't have quite so much bling. I don't know. What do you think? Is it overdone or is it okay? I'd like to know what you think. Well, happy Monday morning, YouTube friends. This may not get posted till the weekend, but you'll know I did it on Monday. I'm trying to set up differently so you can see me better. I know I tend to hold a camera in one hand and videotape what I'm doing the other hand and that kind of thing. And I've noticed that real YouTubers don't do this. They put something on a tripod and they let you look at them. So, okay. So as, oops, upside down. See, this is the thing about this loom. It's just huge and it's rather heavy, but it's okay. It's what I got. So here's my tapestry weave. Or else I'm going to cut the bottom strings first. I'm going to take this card out, cut the bottom strings and tie them off. Okay. And then I'm going to worry about the top. Now I did go outside to the orchard and disturb my chickens. And I found myself a little piece of grapevine. The grapevines out there wonderfully grow sideways a lot. So there's a lot of nice straight ones. I would like a few more curly cues, but that's decent. I like that little curly cue right there, the one that's coming from here. And it's just the right size around. So I'm going to try, after I've taken off the bottom, carefully cutting this up here, trying to get it tied securely around this stick and make it look neat. I want it to look neat. I don't want it to look, as my grandmother would say, jakey. Jakey meant poorly done, unprofessional, kind of ugly, mediocre. That's what jakey meant. So that's what I'm gonna, oh, see, now this loom is nice over here because I can rest my arm on it. That's what I'm gonna do right now. I just have a little bit of time this morning. I've made myself a pot of tea here. This is the thing. Remember how I hated that tea cozy? Well, I made another cozy just for this pot. It also just sits on the knob on top. It's the same ugly yarn. Now, my apologies if you have used this yarn. I know it was quite popular for a while. It's just a tough acrylic. I forget what it was. So I do apologize, but I liked it at the time. I'm sure that's why I bought it, but I don't like it anymore. I think when you knit it up, it doesn't have the same effect as when it's in the skein. Maybe that's what it is. We'll say that. All right, working on the tapestry weave. And I'll bring you in closer so you can watch what I'm going to mess up this time. Okay, here we are. You know, I don't know why I'm so nervous to touch this. It's ridiculous. I'm not afraid of it. Okay, I think this is what the girl said to do on spruce and linen or linen and spruce, whichever it was. Now, I know she cut the bottom ones first, and she tied them off in pairs in nice tight knots, fairly close up underneath her rye loops. And that's the nice thing about the rye loops is they cover up all that. I really wish these loops on this end were not so long. They're just noticeably longer than the others. Okay, so I'm going to cut it down at the bottom to give me maximum room. She said she usually does an overhand knot, but hers were also pretty short, so she did a square knot like I'm going to do. Wait, this is teeny fiddly work. I have pulled out a couple of crochet hooks and a needle and even some needle nose pliers in case I need to reach through the square knot and pull the other end out. That's so teeny. Oh, I'm going to hate doing this, I can tell. This will be all right. Okay, I'm not even going to do a fast forward. I'm just going to bring you back when it's done, okay? Well, I finally gave in and dug out my seam ripper from my sewing basket, which I was trying to put off doing because it does require me to put my loom down. And now I'm working on the top, and I've decided to do what I always do when I weave, which is to give myself a nice secure knot at the top of the weaving. It's what I've done at the bottom of the weaving. I really don't remember what the girl on the video did, but I want to make sure that the weaving itself is nice and secure. And I'm leaving as many ends here as I can. The shortest one, I'm sorry to say, is this one. This one's quite short, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get it around. I might have to braid these or something to make sure that they're all secure. But I've got my seam ripper and I'm cutting them all way up here at the top so that I can get as much length as I can. I'm doing them in groups of 3 because this is divisible by 3, my number of warp yarns. So It's going fine so far. All right, I'm going to describe to you what I'm doing, but I'm not going to film it because it just takes too long and it would bore you to tears. Okay, I changed my mind. I think I'm decent enough at this now. I can bring you in and without making a million mistakes. Now, I'm taking my 3 strands. I'm looping them over the front. Remember, this is the front here. Over the front of my little grapevine wreath, or grapevine branch. And then I'm going to use a pretty good size, this is a G hook, to reach underneath the strand here and pull it through. Okay. I wouldn't really call that much of a knot. And so what I've been doing then is getting a smaller, I think crochet hooks are wonderful for so many things. And then I'm pulling the 3 strands through again. Okay, so now I've pulled this around the back and I've looped it around itself twice, but that's not a knot. And if I tie these 3 strings together now, that even if I make a knot among them, it can slip underneath all of that. So this is the thing I think is a little bit important to do, is to take one of these strings. I'm going to take the longest one. What in the world? And then I just take one of them and put it back underneath that band again, just one. And then I tie my knot so that it really can't slip. And I take the other 2 that I didn't put underneath and I keep them in one hand. And I keep this in the other and I tie a square knot with it. And sometimes I'll just reach through, as long as I keep all these strings designated, I'll reach through and grab it with a crochet hook. It just makes it so much easier. All right, I got it on there, and you know, I don't think it's too bad. I do wish these ones weren't sticking out there. But yeah, I think for a first attempt, I'm really very pleased. There's that Raya loop sticking out down. I don't know. I guess they're all supposed to be crazy lengths like that. I'm going to have to decide what I want to do with all that. But yeah. Now, the next thing I have to do is tie probably a piece of that same warp I was using, because it's kind of pretty. It has a shiny shimmer to it. And I'll probably tie a nice piece of that here so that somebody can hang it. And maybe I'll hang it for a while. Enjoy it for a little bit before I take it to the market. Yes, okay, so there is the tapestry weave. Yay, hooray! I gave it a try. It's so much fun to use your own little grapevine. Those Raya loops, they're bothering me. I did something a little bit fun on the band that I'm gonna hang this with. I decided to do a chain stitch, crocheted chain stitch with the same warp string. And the nice thing about a chain stitch that I didn't know until I started spinning is that a chain stitch is always a triple ply by definition. That's why chain plying when you're spinning is a triple ply yarn instead of a 2-ply. So it's really strong because it's 3 together. And it's, you know, it's like braiding, but so much faster to use a crochet hook. And so now I have a triple ply hanger, which is just nice and sturdy and has kind of a little elegance and texture to it. And I just looped it around this side and started chain stitching right there on the twig and worked the end into my chain stitch and then went all the way around and grabbed, no, I think that's where I started, right there. I think I started there. That's why it looks a little junkier. And finished on this end. And then just looped it around and finished crocheting right on this twig too. So pretty pleased with that. I'm going to go hang it up somewhere. Here it is hanging on my studio door. Isn't that fun? It's so textury. I think that's what I like about it. All right, that's enough of that. Thanks so much for joining me for this little bit of adventure. Bye-bye.